Yo, what's good? It's Mastermind MMA. I apologize for the hiatus. I had some shit I had to take care of. It's all done now, so we're back, baby. So I'm sorry about the little break, but so much to catch up on, guys. Fucking Justin Gaethje, Fight of the Year contender, possibly the greatest UFC debut, definitely of late in the discussion of all time. Maybe that's some hype beast talk. I don't know. Robert Whittaker coming in hot, getting the interim scrap, doing his thing. Shout out Australia. Australia's got a champ. I fucking love it down there. I've been down Australia a bunch of times. I was fucking scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef when I was in 4th grade and shit like that. That was the first time I went there. So I have a real strong connection with Australia. So shout out to you guys. Congratulations. And now to the point of this video, because I'm not going to be talking about that stuff in this video. Those videos are coming. Now this video, I have to word it very carefully, but I'm not going to, because, you know, words could get fucking stretched out. Little fucking preface, little pre-statement. I'm not saying he's going to win, and by the title you probably already know what I'm talking about. But Conor McGregor, here's some things he can do to be more successful in the squared circle. I'm not saying that this is what he needs to do and he'll win the fight hands down, but there's definitely, it's all about opportunity. You know, the fight game especially, whether in any aspect you look at it, whether it's an opportunity of someone falling out, you taking the fight, example Nate Diaz, Michael Bisping getting the thing, and opportunities when you take it, like Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva. If Weidman wasn't persistent throwing those punches, he never would have, no matter how much he was missing, he never would have knocked out Anderson. So it's taking opportunities like that. So you could look at it at many different aspects. But the thing that I'm talking about is techniques and ways Conor can implement to increase his chance at success. So that's exactly how I feel like I should word it, is increasing chances of success, because these are all just chances. Now, if Conor comes in to box, he is going to lose like everyone thinks he is. In the fashion, I meant. He's going to lose in the fashion everyone thinks he is. Because if you talk to boxing consensus, is going to be he's going to get knocked out. Floyd better knock him out, and there's no way of winning. It's a outclass 12 round. You know, so that's kind of the consensus. So what I'm about to talk about is things that he can do to kind of, you know, just don't be a boxer. What Conor needs to do is he needs to have a fight with 10-ounce gloves on. And what let me just dive right on in, boys. All right. so what he needs to do is bring in things from MMA. Now, as we all know, it's kind of, MMA is a jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. And then you have, but not really, the new age MMA is kind of jack of all, master of none. But old school is specialist. You know what I mean? Like, we all know. This is a fucking MMA channel. I don't have to explain that shit. So what he needs to do is bring in, I know you're probably thinking, how can he bring in anything else? It's boxing. Yes, it is boxing. But boxing, as a boxer, I could tell you, boxing is very particular. You know, it's very tailor-made to boxing. Boxing is tailor-made to boxing. Very profound, Mastermind. I know. Doesn't make sense. But there's certain things. What I mean by that is that, yes, boxing can... Alright, just straight up. Boxing translating into a fight, into MMA. Yeah, it could help a lot. If you're a good boxer, you could probably throw hands in a fist fight, in a street fight. But it's not going to translate exactly. You know what I mean? Just from having gloves on and gloves off, distance is messed up. So I mean that, like, particulars. That, like, when you're being trained in boxing, it's about when you're, when you have your guard, it's using your gloves to build a guard better. You know what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that you're only going to have in the boxing ring. Because if you use a boxing guard in MMA, your shit's going to get clipped up because there's going to be too many holes in your guard. Look at Stipe Alistair. A good boxer could really get in there. So I might be getting a little confusing. But what I'm saying is, what he could bring over is, in MMA, you have to, if a boxer comes over into MMA, they can't have the same boxing stance. You have to adjust your stance because you have to widen your stance for takedowns. You have to have your lead leg ready to check kicks. You have to be able to have your stance in the just the right way where you could stuff a takedown, sprawl or whatever, or check a kick and pivot out. You still need to be able to cut those angles while being mindful of other things. Now, he could bring that stance over into boxing. That's what I mean by bringing things from MMA into the boxing ring. See, once you bring a wider stance, automatically, if you just widen your stance, because we see Conor likes to have a very wide stance. Once you do that, man, it's different from a traditional boxer, because you have your regular boxing stance. Floyd has seen that a million times. Not only has he seen it a million times, you could kind of, when you're as seasoned as Floyd, you've seen almost everything, especially against the caliber of opponents he's been up against. You've seen everything, so you could read everything, you could break everything down. Floyd can read, analyze the input, and then operate based off that and break you down and just skate off. You know what I mean? So if you keep giving him, like in boxing, you have different looks you give people. You kind of like, you give them a look, see how they react to it, and then work off that look. Conor needs to be giving Floyd different kind of looks. He could come with back to what I was saying about the wider stance before I get into that. The wider stance, it automatically changes how Floyd is reading. It throws him off because now the punches are coming from a different angle. The punches are coming more in an upward angle because you're already lowered down. Your height is lowered down, so the offense is different. The way you duck and roll and slip and evade, and then even the angles you're gonna cut is gonna be so much more different because of the positioning of your feet. So he has to, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So back to what I was saying is, when you're in the wider stance, everything's coming from a different angle and stuff. So Floyd is going to be, in the early rounds, he's going to be trying to analyze McGregor like he does anyone and everybody. So he needs to keep giving Floyd different looks, if you will. Stand in a traditional boxing stance. Kind of make Floyd think, all right, this guy's really coming in here to box with me, and switch the stand up. Confuse him. Do some fucking capoeira movements. You know what I mean? Like he was doing in the face off. Do everything. Get funky in that bitch. You know what I mean? Be like how like fucking Tony Ferguson cha-chas and shit like that. Do all this weird shit. Throw him off. Because not only is, we already know Floyd is going to take, Conor said he's going to knock Floyd out in 4 rounds. We already know Floyd is not going to come out hot in the beginning rounds because he never does. He uses that time to analyze and break down his opponent. Now, when he's doing that, if Conor's giving him so many different things to analyze, and the thing is, he has to have a whole fucking roulette wheel of all these different stances and different looks to throw at Floyd that he's never seen before. Because when it comes to boxing, he's seen everything. But when it comes to a mixed martial artist boxer, he hasn't seen that. So that's exactly what he needs to do. he needs to even kind of feint, like from a far distance, you know what I mean? Like feint with like an elbow or something like that, like fake throw an elbow, raise your leg, do shit to just like fuck with Floyd. Not only is that gonna kind of be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Not so much like the fake throwing kicks and shit. I was kind of fucking around with that, but he has to really get Floyd to be like, what the fuck is he doing? So he's like, not only is he gonna have to, right, so when Floyd is analyzing all this, he's gonna be tentative because he's not gonna be on the offensive when he's trying to read you. So when he's in that process of reading, it's kind of ironic I'm calling it reading and we're talking Floyd, but so like when he's in the process of reading Conor needs to extend that. He needs to make that process as long as possible. He has to be a mystery that it'll take a long time for Floyd to understand. And something that's important with that, because those are the rounds that are going to be lackluster, because Floyd is not going to press the action. If you do that, and if Conor does that and he's a bit more aggressive in the sense of he's controlling the ring, he's putting on the pressure, all while giving these different looks. He's putting on all this pressure. He's coming out hard. He's throwing some offense without getting caught. So he's throwing offensive stuff. Not too much. Not being like aggressive going in for it. But enough to outwork Floyd, which won't be hard in the beginning. So once he does that, that's going to be rounds that he can edge and rounds that he can get. So that is the beginning is almost, I don't want to say the only chance, but the beginning is the fucking most essential part for Conor. I can't even stress how important the beginning is, especially with anybody that's fighting Floyd. But that's with boxers. So it's literally only a matter of time before Floyd figures out a boxer. But if you're coming, because he knows that since 4 years old, that's his world. He's a master of it. He knows everything about it. But if you come with shit that he's never seen before, he has to learn on the job. It'll be on the job experience, which creates openings and is more risky for Floyd, because he can't read that. So, all right, I'm gonna feint with this. He's gonna move there, then I'm gonna pop him. He can't operate like that because he doesn't know. Not only that, he knows Conor's a power puncher. He knows Conor has the size on him. He's gonna be a lot more tentative. So that's when Conor needs to fucking pour that shit on, in the sense of just constantly switch, then back. Make Floyd feel like he might know what he's doing, then totally switch it up. So you guys get what I'm saying. So he needs to do that. That's part one of what he needs to do. It's not a numerical order, but that's just one of the things that he needs to do. Another thing, Conor is his fight style by the textbook should not work. And what I mean by that is purely in head movement. You know what I mean? Like he has almost zero head movement. He's like Ronda Rousey when it comes to head movement. But he doesn't get clipped up, so it's an anomaly because it works for him. You know what I mean? Like you say, all right, you shouldn't fight with your hands down, and then you see Anderson Silva in his prime. So obviously, if everyone's like, oh, you don't need your hands up, you're gonna get clipped the fuck up. But if you're Anderson Silva, you could keep your hands wherever you want them. So it's one of those things. When it comes to the head movement, Conor's kind of like, I don't want to compare him to Anderson Silva like that, but in that direct metaphor that I just created, not really metaphor, a parallel. In that parallel, he he gets away without moving his head. Now, something he kind of does, and it's not that he doesn't have good evasive techniques, because in the Nate Diaz first fight, you saw some pretty good rolls and some good defensive systems that he had in evasion systems. So he could do it, but it's not like when he's zoned in, when he first comes out and he's got that right hand playing patty cake, kind of finding his distance, and he's just keeping his head calm. Might move his head to the side over a little bit, but that's about it. And he has that left hand waiting to fire off. Like, look at the Jose Aldo fight. He comes out, he starts playing patty cake, and then Jose feints with the right hand, goes to throw left. Before the feint's even done, right when he's throwing that left, he's cracked with that. He's cracked by Conor, and he's done. Now, the thing is, even when you look at the Eddie Alvarez fight, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So, when Conor knocked out Jose Aldo, Conor's head was in the same place. There was hardly any head movement. There was no slip and ripping. He didn't need to because of the 13 seconds. But as soon as he came out, head on the center line, patty cake, kick the leg, patty cake, knockout. But when Jose Aldo was feinting with his right, throwing a left. Jose still connected with that left as he was going out. As his brain and his body was shutting down, that hand still, just by the pure fucking inertia and force that he was throwing it with, even when he got lights out in the middle of it, it still landed and it still cut McGregor. Now, what does that mean? Very simple. McGregor never moved his head off of the center line. Now, he kind of has that almost like when you throw a teep kick or a front kick, no matter what you do, your head always falls back on the center line. That's why a lot of fighters kind of avoid that kick, because your head's just boom right back on the center line, so people could fire off with a counter. Now, when you look at the Eddie Alvarez fight, Eddie Alvarez got off on Conor when he was getting knocked down in certain situations. Not got his shots off that much, but he still touched up Conor a little bit, in the literal sense of just touching Conor. But he still connected a bit, but Conor connected harder. So that comes to the point where, before I get there, in boxing, bro, if you don't have head movement, you're fucked. You're fucked. Because that jab is just gonna fucking snap, 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 snap. You're just gonna see your head fucking flying back constantly, just getting snapped just by jabs. And then you're just gonna be snap, boom, and your chin's gonna be, you're gonna be fucked, man. But, and this is only applicable to this situation, even in Conor's mixed martial arts career, even in that Jose Aldo fight, even in that Eddie Alvarez fight, Conor is always willing to take one in order to give one. In that Jose Aldo fight, he was like, listen, I might get hit by Jose Aldo with that left hand that's coming, but I'm going to get mine off, and we'll see who's standing after that. And that's kind of his mentality, and he could kind of play that game a bit more with Floyd, because Floyd doesn't really have that power. And that might be Conor's best opportunity to create some openings. It's not really going to be creating an opening, but it's going to be able to get your shit off. So when Floyd is fucking on the offense and he's actually connecting, you know what I mean? So Conor might let him start off a combination and then hit him while Conor's getting hit in that combination, which is really what he needs to do, because when it comes to evasion, when it comes to defense, when it comes to defensive movement and all that. Like, Floyd is light years ahead of the game. Floyd is like fucking Neo when it comes to that. So you're not going to be able to catch him like that. No boxer ever has. I mean, Floyd's been caught quite like a few times. You know, you got the Zab Judah, Shane Mosley. More memorable to me was Maidana, when Maidana caught him with that 1-2. He actually missed with the 1, but cracked him hard with the overhand. And then at the end of the round, and really buckled Floyd a bit, and it was dead at the bell. So, you know, that's really a good chance Conor has, is being able to eat one and give one, because the one he gives is definitely going to be harder than the one Floyd gave to him. So that might be Conor's best chances of actually connecting on Floyd, is while he's getting hit, fire off, because Floyd isn't evading. But Floyd is also very good at being fluid between offense and defense. But that fluidity comes from when Floyd is giving you those looks and then learning you off of that. You know, he gives you those looks, acts off of those looks, and then it's in the database. And then he proceeds to pick you apart. So with those things in combination with a wider stance, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a wide stance. I'm just using that as an example of how a mixed martial arts stance is influenced by the plethora of art forms that are in there. So you just transfer that over and just and the thing is, Conor's he's a mixed martial artist, so that's already embedded within his DNA. So it's going to be more natural for him, and just given the different the different stances, the wider stances, or even if he fights that, comes out fucking doing the capoeira fucking thing, you know what I mean? Like, even if he does that, that's great, because Floyd hasn't seen that shit before. And you know, all right, so using that in combination with maybe eating one to give one. So you don't give Floyd enough time to build his database. Not only you don't give him enough time, you could confuse him. That opens up opportunities to kind of edge those rounds, you know, by giving pressure, by being pressure. Even if you're not even throwing that much, Floyd's not going to be throwing that much. So even just pressing forward, keeping pressure, something like that could edge Conor some rounds. And then being willing to, because his head movement is gonna get him caught. And another thing is, he could kind of lull Floyd into a false sense of, oh, I'm already picking this bitch apart, and just cracking him, because all it takes is that one. And I feel like if a knockout were to come, or a knockdown, or a hard punch, or a moment in that fight would come from Conor, it would be in one of those. Like when Floyd is on the offensive and then gets hit while he's hitting Conor. So yeah, man, that's just some quick suggestions that I wanted to put out there for Conor. You know, some things he could do to find a little more success. I don't know, I'm gonna be covering this a little more when it goes through. I had more things. I actually started working on like a longer video on this yesterday, where I go on a bunch more things, but I was like, it was messy, because I was thinking it out as I was talking. You know, I was thinking and talking simultaneously. So that shit was a little spacey and a little messy. So I was like, you know, let me do like a different, more concise version of it. So I left out a lot of stuff. I'm definitely might do a revised version, or something like that. You know what I mean? And you know, these pressers are getting me pumped for it. I'm kind of excited to see how this shit goes. I'm I'm just hoping that this fight isn't what the general consensus expects it to be, just a 12-round outclass. I don't want to see that. I want something interesting, and I want to see a good contest. So, yeah, man, I'll be back with more shit, and you already know it's Mastermind MMA.